So when you're looking for a real estate agent, the most important thing is to do your homework.
Yeah.
Make sure that that agent is successful, and success is not defined by how many homes you sell. It's by how people respond.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. And we're back. Welcome to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and joining us on this episode, another very knowledgeable and experienced guest, top producing real estate agent, Sean Rizor. How are you, Sean?
I'm good. Very good. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you taking time out your day to be with us today and started off the show playing some games before we talk about some real estate. I have an icebreaker for you called Fill in the Blank. And it's exactly what it sounds like. I just need you to fill in these blanks in these sentences so that they make sense. So you ready, Sean?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get straight to it. First one, the biggest advantage of owning a property is blank.
The biggest advantage of owning a property is blank. Well, you have a home to live in. Is that
First
what
and
you're looking for?
foremost.
That's a lot more words than one, but I mean, you don't want to be homeless. I'm just putting that out there for you.
Right. Yeah. The answers don't have to be just one word, but yeah,
Okay.
that's definitely
All right.
you have somewhere to live. That's the key right there.
I mean,
Next one, my
nobody
favorite
wants
thing.
to live in a van down by the river.
Oh, key right there.
Right.
Love that. Even better.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about being a real estate agent is blank.
Helping people. Honestly,
Mm.
it has the industry for me has just been so much fun to work in, helping people for sure.
Got you. The most important factor when choosing a real estate agent is blank.
Oh, this is a good one. So when you're looking for a real estate agent, the most important thing is to do your homework.
Yeah.
Make sure that that agent is successful, and success is not defined by how many homes you sell. It's by how people respond.
I'm
And if
glad you
those people
clarified.
are happy, you've got a good real estate agent. And there are a lot of great real estate agents out there.
Great. That's well put right there. Last one. My dream home would have blank.
Oh, its own island. Like just
Ooh.
my own island, you know, trees and man,
Oh, you
and,
thinking big.
and a spot that I can just fish all day long.
Come on, man.
This
Come
is
on,
this
man.
is this is
He
yeah,
talking about the dream right now, man. I
man.
love that.
I just envisioned it just now.
I just had a that's what's up.
Oh
Cool,
man,
man. Well, thanks Sean, for loosening up with us to
yeah.
start the show. We appreciate that. So let's get into exactly who you are, man. I took some time in this episode for you to take 60 seconds to explain to us who is Sean outside of real estate.
Well, that's a loaded question. Well, obviously, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father of two daughters. Um I've got one. My oldest is graduating from college in 2 weeks. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. And
Congratulations.
my youngest will be a senior in high school,
All right.
starting this fall. So, law enforcement. That's I've spent the better portion of my career there.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, I started my career out in broadcasting.
Oh, okay.
I was
Nice.
in radio and went to radio and television communications school, and so that's what I sort of started out in, and then went into the law enforcement. Spent a little time
Mm,
in the EMS field and the fire service field, and
okay.
so public service. I mean, for the most part, is where I'm at. But who else am I? Man, I love to go out and just enjoy the outdoors. Love to
Mm,
fish, love to be on the boat, love to go camping. and we do quite a bit of that. Seasonal mostly, because it helps me with my real estate business. As you
Gotcha.
know, that most of this occurs on the evenings and weekends, and so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
need to be
Mm-hmm.
able to have that flexibility. So that's me. I like to hang out with my friends. I enjoy, having fun.
Love it, love
Yeah.
it. Well, first and foremost, let me say thank you for your service as a public servant. I definitely don't want to just skip over
No,
that. We
I appreciate
appreciate
that.
that. Absolutely. And yeah, I love to hear about our clients. I mean, our guests are, agents being family men, family women, mothers, fathers, and husbands and wives. And, it's a lot more to, obviously this podcast and this show in the world than, your profession. We're all actual human beings who have families. So love to hear
Absolutely.
that,
Yeah.
man. I actually do. And you know what I also like to hear? I like to hear stories from our guests, and I want to hear a story from you. The most untraditional way that you obtained a client or a lead for a client. Sean, do you have anything that you could share with us that'll be interesting?
You know, getting clients it's I don't want to say it's tricky business, but most of us operate the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of our business comes through word of mouth.
Yeah.
Some you might get from your social presence or whatever, but uh, I don't have a really like outstanding story about how I've come across people, but I have had people who overhear me talking about real estate and like, oh, you're a real
Mm.
estate agent, and I
Okay.
get them that way.
There it is.
It's not someone that I went out looking for. They just happened to overhear a conversation, and here we are. And now I'm helping them through the process,
Right.
and before we know it, we're not just like a client to agent relationship. By the time the deal's done, we're friends, and
There it
that's what
is.
I enjoy about that.
I would consider that an untraditional way of obtaining a client or a lead to a client. I mean, it's not you actively promoting or marketing your services. I mean, maybe to someone else, but as a result, you have someone who's completely nosy listening to your business, and then they say, hey, and it benefits you,
That's right.
So that
That's
just
right.
goes to show if you're out in public, listen to other people's conversation. You never know what they might say. It might be something to help you. So be nosy. I'm encouraging my audience, be nosy.
That's it. That's it. Listen in.
we
You
like
got
to
something
have
to say. Uh-huh.
as an investigator specializing in auto theft. No, this is part of something that you've been part of your experience. You have a unique perspective on security and safety. So how do you incorporate this knowledge into your real estate practice to provide your clients with the peace of mind when it comes to protecting their property?
So first thing I want to say is that as an agent, you know, I'm not permitted to tell people about a particular neighborhood, right?
Of course.
Because that's fair housing stuff. However,
Mm-hmm.
I do have a unique perspective that I can offer. And it could be, what are some safety measures that you can take in your property to help protect your property? So could be things from like, oh, cameras and alarm systems, and, what good's a smoke detector if no one is there to hear it, right? So if it's connected to your
Mm.
alarm company, now you've got that aspect when you're, away from home, and not just, cameras, but good cameras, good quality cameras. You ever been watching TV and you're like, that's a bank robber?
I
It
know,
looks
right?
like somebody's,
You can't
looks
even
like
see their
somebody's dog,
face.
and you're
Right.
like, these cameras, just you'd think that they have better cameras, but things like that. Also, I like to talk to people about where they can go to find information about particular areas and neighborhoods. I may not be able to tell you that that a particular area maybe has a greater crime rate than another, but what I can tell you is go to this website, and this will give you
Hmm.
real-time crime data and things like that. Or this is the person you call, and just ask those questions. But I understand completely that that is important to people, to know that they're going to live in a place where they can raise their kids and it's safe.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. By any chance, I don't know, but are you able to share that website that you
Well,
usually give?
so they're all different. So, like, for example,
Oh,
if
okay,
you're in the
okay.
greater Toledo area, which is an area
Mm-hmm.
that I'm servicing, I say, well, here is the website you go to for Toledo Police Department, and it'll give you a real time map and show you what's happening. there was a burglary here, or there was a, whatever over here. And
Got you.
then they kind of pinpoint that stuff and say, all right, I get it. But you just gotta do your due diligence. You can still help people without telling them that an area is better than another.
Right, right.
But let's be honest, today we live in a day and age when everyone has access to the internet and they can
Mm-hmm.
find out what they need to find out. So
100%.
you know.
And nowadays, a lot of people are willingly giving up information that,
Well, that's 100% true, and that's why people think, how did they get my information? It was a data breach. It wasn't a
Exactly.
data breach. You told them what your mom's maiden name was. And
Man.
they had your PIN number.
Come
so
on, man. Exactly,
we don't want to do
exactly.
that, or where you were born, or whatever.
You know, it's an interesting thing that you brought up, man, and this is a little bit random, but it's kind of still on par about the security cameras and the quality of them. I
Yeah.
used to hate when I would watch a news story and they would have a crime on camera, but the camera is like 2G phone camera, like flip phone camera. It's like we're in the age of smartphones, artificial intelligence, and almost automated driving, and we still can't get cameras that can capture people's actual faces.
I agree with you 100%.
Oh,
I
my
don't understand it
goodness.
myself, but all you can
It's
do is
working
lead
backwards.
people to them.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, invest in quality
Yes.
security if that's the way you
There's
choose to go.
one thing to keep in mind when it comes to cameras is the quality of the cameras. You want just as good a quality for your cameras as you want for your agent. Remember that. Quality
Good one.
agent, quality cameras.
Good one.
You'll get yourself a quality home. It's all about quality.
Over quantity all day, every day. Come on, man. Have you had any times where you had to come in between a situation where maybe you're either listing a property or you're helping a client find a property, and maybe you get there and there's some issue with the neighbor by any chance? Maybe the neighbor is, just coming in between the situation or the sale, the transaction, think that you all are, doing something you don't have any business. Have you had to mediate a problem between a neighbor and a transaction going on at a certain property?
So I haven't had to mediate a problem between neighbors so much, but let me tell you probably two of the worst types of transactions you can be involved in.
Uh-oh.
One is divorces, and two, death. So when you have those types of dynamics, it can get really tricky to navigate that. And you got to stay fair and equitable, between your clients. You've got a husband and wife who are going through a divorce, and you have to stay neutral, but also guide them through that process to the end, so that everyone can be as happy as they can be. I mean, they might still hate each other, but I don't want them to hate me, right? And the other type is your probates, when you've got siblings involved and everyone wants to get the most they possibly can for the home, which you always want that from your agent. But at the same time, if you don't set your clients up for reasonable expectations in the beginning, you'll not have reasonable expectations in the end. And sometimes clients do they think they know the market because they go on the internet and they look, and geographically things can be different. Just within 10 to 15 miles you could be from the city to a rural area, and now all of a sudden you've got you've got a completely different market, and so your client might be confused about that, right? Not really sure what's happening. And so you have to work with those clients, in the beginning, set up reasonable expectations so that you don't have a negative outcome. And sometimes you do have to mediate a little bit between family members. Hey, in the grand scheme, is this really that big of a deal?
Right.
But I have even, had clients who were doing some criminal things and have had to turn that over, to someone else to look at. And that's just where you kind of recognize that something's going on here that shouldn't be. And so,
Yeah, no, that's good work right there. Like those are situations that are very unfortunate, but they're real. The divorce, the death, going through the probate, money's involved. assets
People,
are involved,
that's right.
it can get messy,
People are
even
fighting
between
over
family
material
members.
stuff, and it's the stuff that
Exactly.
doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
So it's good that you sometimes it can be a little sticky, but it's good to have a person there like yourself, a professional who's able to kind of keep cool heads and have everyone look at things from a different perspective, especially during those times.
Well, you know, part of the law enforcement career, carries over because you are used to mitigating things for people
Mm-hmm.
and guiding them in the direction where they can go, at least be somewhat amicable or understand what it is that you're trying to tell them and how these things, maybe this isn't quite as important as this is, and just put things into perspective for them. And
Right.
it's a little bit of verbal judo if you can make that work.
Ooh, okay. I like that right there.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So when I looked at your presence online, I saw that you have a great, strong presence. I see that you also get great reviews from people. That just speaks to your character and your professionalism still, right? Do you have any instances, any stories you could share where you feel like you went way above and beyond what you would generally do
Yeah.
for the typical agent? And what was that? Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. So I have had numerous occasions where I have had to help people move from or relocate from out of state to in state,
Oh
and
boy.
that's tough, because you're coming from a
Yeah.
long distance, and in a market when maybe a home might not be on the market for very long. um, how do they get from there to here? So, they might come. In most cases, they've come, they've met with me a couple times. We go look at a couple places. They trust my knowledge about the
hmm
process. They trust my knowledge about the home. And, during COVID, uh, uh, most most were not getting inspections done, right? So they weren't allowing any
Yeah. Yeah.
inspections, and in some cases they weren't even getting the appraiser into the house to do that appraisal. So that left a
Sheesh.
lot of put a lot of weight on real estate agents,
Mhm.
and we would have to then go and essentially say, well, I feel like this is a solid home, and you're trying to, especially first time home buyers, like how do you get them through that process to the end? You want them to, to feel comfortable with you and how you did things. Well, I have actually recommended to people to purchase a property sight unseen, maybe just me and my phone walking around, and they have made these purchases, and I have so far have not had any of those clients who have been unhappy with the home. And
Ooh-wee.
it's been, yeah, it's very cool to be able to. It's a lot of pressure, right? Because it's
Yeah, you
like
see
I'm
how
not
I'm
the
like,
one who has to live there.
yeah.
But uh but I did have one client a couple of years ago. They were relocating from another state, and the husband had come and met with me a couple times, and they were retired, and they just wanted to come to Ohio. And well,
hmm
they were selling their home. We still couldn't find anything, so he had me going and looking for him. And there was a couple of homes I looked at and was, absolutely not. This is just not going to work. So ended up finding one. They got their home up. They sold it, but there was in their state, unlike our state, the buyer gets possession the day of closing. And in Ohio, well, the buyer, you could have up to 30 days in some cases, maybe sometimes
Right.
longer, but most of the time it's like an average of 30 days for possession. So they were going to get possession of the home. They had to get all their stuff moved. They had all their stuff shipped to a storage unit here in Ohio. During the move, while they were packing, the husband fell and
Oh,
cracked a couple of ribs. So he was
oh,
having a hard time getting stuff done. They finally were able to make it into Ohio. They spent the night in a hotel locally. The night before they were going to get possession, and the wife had a heart attack,
oh.
and they had to transport her to the hospital. And then he was having a hard time breathing during all this. They transported him to the hospital and found out that he had a couple of fractured vertebrae. So now they're supposed to get the keys and possession of the home, and the movers are supposed to be coming. Hold the phone. You
Wow.
guys do what you need to do. I'll go to the house. I'll meet the movers. I'll help them make sure they get everything into the home. And then when I'm all done, I'll make sure you get the keys. So that's what I did. I went to the house, only to find out that after a few hours, the wife had actually checked herself out of the hospital, which she should not have done. She was just very worried. So when
Oh
she came
wow.
to the house to meet me, the movers were still not there. There was nothing for her. I mean, she was just, you could tell she was very rough shape. So we ended up getting a air mattress. We blew that up, had her just relax, and then the rest is kind of history. You know, we managed to get everything organized, and he spent a few weeks in rehabilitation and all that to get his medical issues figured out. But you know, it's you go above and beyond. Sometimes you do what you have to do because you know the the transaction doesn't just start with your introduction and
Mm-hmm.
end with the closing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things in between, and you know, I've helped people move, and you know, there's things as agents we do when we recognize a need, right? So it's not
Right.
just about what you get out of your agent is that knowledge and expertise, but what you also get out of your agent is them realizing that there's a need that they can meet. And it's
Right.
not always about, you know, how much is it going to benefit me? Well, certainly it benefits me in that I treat people the way I would want to be treated, or treat someone's grandparents or kids the way that you would want them treated. But at the end of the day, it's your character that, you know, speaks volumes,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Man, that is a very unfortunate series of events that happened
They're
during
doing
that
well
time.
though. They're doing well though.
Thank you. Thank you for that update. Cause I'm like, that sounds crazy. And it didn't seem like from that story, it didn't seem like they had too many other people in their lives that were able to help.
No,
So
they did not.
you were like God sent, man. Like that's
I
crazy.
was all they had in the moment, and so you know
Yeah.
it wasn't an option for me to say to not
Of
do
course,
anything.
man.
You know,
Come on,
so
man. I already can tell, man. You got too good of a heart, man. I usually hear stories of a realtor maybe painting some walls or something like that, but
I hate
that's
painting. Now, if you call me to paint, you
he
might
said
be
I
on
can't
your
do
own. Oh,
that.
that's the
That's
worst.
funny.
That's the
I do
worst.
everything else. Okay. Speaking of painting, some people like to paint their houses all types of freaky colors that make it stand out in the neighborhood or whatever. To each his own, right?
Yeah.
Have you been through a home or property that may have had subjectively a unattractive uh um unattractive feature or amenity that you may have had to convince buyers and or sell I'll probably say buyers that this is not that bad or whatever the
Yeah.
case may
Something
be,
that could
change their
be changed.
perspective? Yeah.
Yeah, so I have, and you often have, and again, this comes with inexperience in homes, but you often will have some buyers who will go, boy, I don't like that little crack there in the wall, and this
Mm-hmm.
makes me think that the house is falling down. And you know, it happens sometimes, especially with older homes, and you go, well, let me put something in perspective for you. And I'm not saying that the home is the greatest home ever, but if you have a home like the home I live in, it's, you know, well over 100 years old, and I appreciate the old homes. Why? Because they're built so much better than the older home than the
Yeah, I
newer
feel
homes,
you.
I should say. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this home will outlast a lot of these newer homes that are being built. It's just the quality, the, you know, the foundations on them, and not every old home is that way. But you
Correct.
know, I spend a lot of time though explaining to clients, hey, listen, you know, this really isn't that bad. This can be changed. You know, the color of a house can be changed. If you don't like that, you know, that feature, change it. You know, if you're not changing the entire structure of the home, it's not a big deal. Um, but then I also talk people out of homes. I would
Right.
rather talk you out of buying a home than put you in it, and then, you know, 6 months from now or a year from now, you're going, man, what did he do? Like, he put me in
Right.
this house. He convinced me to buy. I'm not convincing you to buy anything, but I am going to um, tell you when I see a quality home. But you know, I've seen quality homes, and I've had clients go, boy, it's just not for me. You know what? That's okay. I don't care if you see 100 homes.
Yeah.
You got to be happy. If you're not happy with it in the end, keeping in mind, you got to have a realistic expectation on that. Now, you know, shoot, I've been in homes where I'm going through it, and I'm like, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna strip off all these clothes and I'm gonna throw them in the burn pit.
Yeah.
I've had that happen. And I'm like,
Right.
I
Take
don't
an
know.
acid bath.
I'm like, I don't know if anything's gonna get this out,
Right.
but it's
That's
just
funny.
being honest with your clients, and they appreciate that. You know,
I might have to ask that question in some different ways to some future agents, because that's funny now that I think about it. I know you go into homes where you just feel like I
yeah.
shouldn't even been in there.
Oh,
Like that just gives me the nastiest feeling
you
ever.
know,
Sometimes I could imagine.
one of the things about me is that I used to wear suits to these things all the time, and I will, depending on the type of
Right.
house. But I
He
inevitably
said,
find myself in a crawl space or in an
"Yep,
attic, and I'm
yep."
somewhere and I'm ripping clothes. I was in one not too far from here a few months back, and I get down there and I'm going in the crawl space with my flashlight, and I see this like 8 or 9 foot fox snake down there. He just sitting there, just
What?
hanging out. So I take some
Woo!
pictures of it, and of course, then the homeowners, when they find out there's a snake down there, they're freaking out. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get somebody there to get it out of there. But it's just fat and happy down there eating mice. And I said, "Have you had any mice problems?" "No, we sure haven't."
I
Well,
know, right? I bet you don't.
that's why right there. But he didn't mess with
Dude,
anything.
you
But
said a fox snake?
a fox snake, they're harmless. They just
That
eat
sounds
mice.
like the biggest thing I've ever heard of in
They
my
get
life.
big.
That's
They get big. They get pretty big. Yeah.
I
And
don't you even say that. I'm just like, I don't want the house. Like a
yeah.
fox snake?
I was at
That's
I was
crazy.
at one here not too long ago, and the foundation was a disaster, and it was
Mm.
cracked, and so I'm running my flashlight all along the inside around the foundation inside the basement, and bloop, there's a snake just staring right at me. He's big and
Dude.
long, and so I had to go outside and try to figure out how he got in, and of course, I've told the clients, I'm like, this no, if you got snakes coming in, through the foundation, and you got this giant crack, this is not what you want. So.
Are you not scared of snakes or something, Sean? This is the second
No,
story.
I'm
I would have been, I would have changed careers, dude. I probably would have left
it's
town.
just no,
Are
I'm
you
not much of a
serious?
snake charmer, but I'll tell you that for some reason they I find stuff, but it's being thorough. That's how you find stuff.
I mean, you have to be thorough, but man, you are built different. Let me tell you that. I'm not built like you. I can't do it, man.
I'm not
That's
saying I like
crazy.
them. I'm just saying that I'll tolerate
That's
them for
real.
the client.
That's real.
Yeah, yeah. You do what you got to do. So.
So we already talked about a little bit about old homes. With the older the home, the more history it has behind it. With that being said, have you had any instances where you were selling an old home or buying an old home for a client, I should say, and it had some type of unique history behind it?
Yeah, so I do a little both. I love dealing with the old homes. They do have a lot of history, and I find that clients enjoy knowing about their homes.
Mm-hmm.
You may
Mm-hmm.
not be able to. What I like to do, I'll write some articles about old homes. I've used that
Okay.
in my marketing toolbox, is to write an article about an old home, and it's not just about when the home was built and all the people that lived in it, but I like to hone in on maybe a particular individual that lived in the home. And the trick is knowing where to go for all that information. I spend a fair amount of time poring over places like ancestry.com and newspapers.com, and I go down to the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Library in Fremont, and I'll spend a fair amount of time in there going through microfilm just and then I
Mm.
find something about the home that stands out, and then I write an article about it. But I'll give people a little bit of information, and some people are just like, "Yeah, I've been experiencing these things right in the home. It's an older home," and then I tell them something about, it, and they're like, "Oh, well, that makes sense."
You have any stories? I want to hear a story. Any crazy
um,
historic stories from
Well,
these homes?
I sold one not too far from where I live, actually, around the corner. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was a similar builder because it has a very similar layout to mine, and I live in an old Victorian home. But the gentleman who lives there is actually a police officer, and he and his wife purchased that. And my wife probably would have better stories because we were at a basketball game, a high school basketball game, and our kids go to the same school, and he was talking to my wife about some of the things going on, within the home. Nothing bad, but
Right, right.
nothing I would say that would be considered scary by any stretch. But
Okay.
just the experiences that they had in the home. I'm not sure that I have to disclose that, but
Okay. No, it's because I was here like, hey, I'm on the
but
edge of my seat, like.
I mean, we're not talking Amityville Horror here or Nightmare on Elm Street, but
Right.
disclosure, whatever. But they're happy with the home. They
I
love the
got you.
home, and so
Nice.
you know.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, all of our homes have history.
They do.
It's just a matter about finding out what the history
That's
is,
right.
essentially. So yeah,
That's right.
that's good right there, man. So your decision to enter the real estate field after a long career in public safety demonstrates your passion for helping people, especially in the community, which obviously we can tell at this point. Can you tell us a story about a particularly meaningful experience where you were able to guide and support a client through the home buying and selling process, making a positive impact on their lives?
Well, I kind of think I hinted on that a little bit. I'm not sure I can outdo the story of the couple who both of them ended up in the
True,
hospital, but
true. Yeah, yeah.
I will say that law enforcement it's been a great career. Don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but the climate has changed and things are much different. Some good, some not so good,
Mm-hmm.
and we've really seen a reduction in the number of people who are out there doing the job, and that in and of
Mm,
itself has made it a little scarier to be out there because you don't know where your help is coming from.
true.
um, but having said that, I've enjoy the job, and it is great to have a community aspect. And as you mentioned, the auto theft is something that I've done for a fair number of years, and so much of that is all high profile, right? It's organized, and I'm not dealing with your everyday people who are out on the street, just average people, just living life.
Mm-hmm.
So what real estate has done for me is it's given me a different perspective on helping people. There's the and also, don't get me wrong, not every transaction is always fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we try to make every transaction go perfect, it doesn't always go perfect. I mean, there's some transactions that have been like, wow, like I didn't hardly have to do anything. It feels like this is just awesome. And then there's
Nice.
been some that were just like, oh, you know, this is horrible, and you just try to get through it the best you can. Um,
Yeah.
but but real estate has given me that feel for working with people and just really really enjoying people. You
Right.
know.
Yeah. No, and I love it too, man. Like you said, I mean, you have been in those situations where, I mean, you've went above and beyond. You've helped clients who probably were in a position think they couldn't even get a home, be in a position for a home, and actually get them there. And your dedication to the service industry, public service industry, I think it easily translates over to what you're doing right now, and you've given multiple examples of that too. So I love to see the parallels, and I love to see that that experience actually helps you, gives you somewhat an advantage nowadays. I don't know your situation. Well, obviously, you already said that you own a home, but let's take that away from you right now. Let's say you don't own a home, you're seeking your first home in 2023 with today's current market conditions. What approach would you take to owning your first home in 2023?
Well, I'll tell you, the big thing is that when you're trying to understand the process, you need someone to go to for that information. We go to the
Mm-hmm.
internet for a lot of things, and there are a lot. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the internet and I'm like, man, this finger hurts for some reason. WebMD, oh, I'm dying. Now all of a sudden, like,
Yes.
just go to a doctor. Really,
Right.
I mean, WebMD is not going to solve your
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Yeah.
Or I was having a problem with my truck and I just took it in to get the oil changed, and I'm like, Google what's wrong with the truck. I mean, oh, exhaust manifold. What's that going to cost me? But at the end of the day, you got to go to the mechanic and see what's
Yeah,
really going
yeah.
on, right? So
That's
the
a
same
fact.
thing with buying a home. You got to go to the guy because one of the things I like to pride myself on is I have a plethora of lenders who do different things. One has a niche for maybe um, these types of homes, and one has a niche for these types of loans, whether it's an FHA or a conventional or a veteran's loan, who can get you through that process quickly. Just like a client's experience with me, it's about my experience with a lender and how
Right.
well they work. And, if I was going through the buying process, I would want somebody to just go, okay, listen, this is what you need and this is who you go to. Perfect. That's where I'm going. I'm going to take your lead on it. And, I am 99.9% of the time, I'm sending them to someone who's going to be able to fit them, is going to be a good fit for them. Because, when we're talking interest rates and we're talking, what if what if you have a lower interest rate? What are the programs that are out there? What kind of
Right.
grants are available? Am I eligible for a first time home buyer grant? Maybe not. If you go to a different lender, they may not have that option, or maybe they don't offer a VA loan. And who does those well? Because just with the number of lenders that I've used, um, out of those, there's been some that were not so good, and it was painful,
Yeah.
right? And so you're like, these are the ones maybe I wouldn't recommend.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't an agent out there who wouldn't tell you that. They're all going, but that's part of what we do. It's about making the process smooth, because if it doesn't close or the home doesn't sell, all these things, it's a reflection. It feels like it's a reflection on you, right?
Correct. Correct. I get it.
So, at the end of the day, I can put all the advertising out there that I want. I can build fantastic videos, which I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And one I was just recently working on, trying to make it nice and funny. Uh, Not sure I want to wear that Speedo though for the video, but it is
This
still
guy.
an option. It's on the table. But we'll see how that goes. But I can do all that. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Yeah. Yeah.
if your experience wasn't great with me, it doesn't matter what I do. You know,
Correct.
you have to feel comfortable with me, and I want to know, or I like to know that we're going to be friends at the end of that transaction, and that I'm not going to just walk away and we're never going to see each other again. You know, I want to know, how the house turn out. What
Mm-hmm.
improvements did you make, and
Mm-hmm.
how's your family doing? And I want to
Mm-hmm.
hear that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
some people are like, I don't think he really cares, or I don't think that person cares about whether or not my mom is ill. I absolutely care, because I would want the same in return. I'm not paying lip service. You're getting me,
Yeah.
and this is who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, and I strongly believe that too. The longer you do it, the more connection you have to your community. And I said this recently, like, especially if you're serving an area that you're familiar with or that you live in, I'm pretty sure it's times where you just drive through a neighborhood and you look at homes like, I sold them that home. I got them in that home.
I
I got
do
them that home.
that.
You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So like it's a sense of pride. It's a
Yeah.
sense of I'm doing my job to get
Right.
this, what I'm saying, this community together. So I
Yeah.
feel like you can't really even succeed like for real, if you have a mindset outside of that. Like if you're here just for the money, okay, there's probably still some people that's out there for that. There's obviously still some bad apples, but for the most part, in order to
100%.
have longevity in the game, I see you actually have to have that care for the community and take
Mm-hmm.
that pride when you drive through and see that you got these people in those homes.
It's the same thing with law enforcement. I
Yep.
arrested that guy. Oh, gotta go in that restaurant. A cheeseburger for a cop. No, I'm going.
Yo,
I'll just go on down the road. But
yo,
but you know,
that was funny.
yeah.
Hey, Sean with the sense of humor on the closing table. Thank you so much for pulling up a chair to the closing table. We appreciate that, Sean. If you have any last remarks and/or want to tell people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate the invite for this. It's been great. It's
For sure.
fantastic meeting you. You seem like a great guy, and somebody I'd hang out with. So anytime you want to go out on the boat, just
Oh
hit me
yeah.
up. We'll go over to Cedar Point Beach, and
Oh
we'll tie
man.
off, and we'll just float around
Oh
for a
man.
while.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, if someone's trying to reach out to me, and they can, give me a call. My cell number, 419-779-1939. Email me, Sean Rizor at danbury.com, or go to my website. It's seanriser.danbury.com. And
Mm-hmm.
always easy ways to get a hold of me. You can find me on Facebook. I'm apparently I'm on there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. Uh, Gosh, where am I not? Pinterest. I think I'm even on Pinterest.
Uh-oh.
You know, yeah. So wherever you want to find
Covering
me,
all bases.
I'm
There it
covering them
is.
all. I'm covering them all.
And
So
we will have links to his socials in our description also, so you can get to him directly. Thank you again, Sean. We appreciate you taking time out your very busy day to be with us. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you got to this point in the video, please do us both a favor and hit the like button. Please and thank you. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And Sean, I'm going to leave our audience with a question before they leave the chat. We like to get their brains thinking, brains moving. What method of security do you prefer to protect your property? An alarm, a guard dog, your Second Amendment rights? Let us know in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.